the thing that really keeps kids excited and engaged is really the community. And we've built this huge community with millions of kids that are learning to code and doing these different projects across Tynker. And a lot of it sort of fosters a lot of collaboration and teamwork. And so what happens for the most part is kids get started on different projects, and then, they kind of reach out to other kids within our community for feedback on terms of how to solve these different problems. And so it fosters a lot of that community and ultimately leads to creating a social network where a lot of these kids are kind of encouraging and learning from each other.
You are listening to Power Marketing with Kevin Lee. Kevin and his agency Did It have helped thousands of businesses win through superior marketing, as have his books, articles, speaking engagements, and the eMarketing Association Power Marketing podcasts. Here's Kevin.
I'm super excited to be chatting with Lomit Patel today, who's the Chief Growth Officer at Tynker. And so for those folks who don't know what Tynker is, what's the elevator pitch these days?
Well, first of all, Kevin, thanks for having me. Super excited to be on the show. And just for anyone who hasn't heard of Tynker, we're actually the world's largest coding app that teaches kids to learn to code. And it's used by over 100 million kids around the world, and over 150,000 schools use it as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. I always wonder, what the catalyst is that gets people excited about any career. So in the case of getting young kids excited about coding and creation within a coding kind of a framework, what catalysts have you found that work really well to get them excited or engaged?
Yeah, so for us, one of the biggest catalysts in terms of why kids end up coming to Tynker, it's all around Minecraft. So a lot of these kids love playing in Minecraft, but a big part of Minecraft is all around sort of creating different things that need some form of coding. And so a lot of these tools to do that is available for free on Tynker. So it's kind of a gateway to get kids into Tynker. And once they start playing around with these tools to create different modifications on Minecraft, it kind of starts that flywheel around creativity and how coding, for the most part, it's kind of like just learning another language, whether it's like English or Spanish, where once you start sort of practicing it, it becomes a lot easier. And from that, it really leads to kids wanting to discover what else can they do with coding. So beyond just modifying Minecraft mods, then they start to sort of see on Tynker, well, I can actually apply this code to actually create apps, to design games, and do all other kinds of fun projects. So, that's that. But it all starts primarily with either Minecraft for us. Or the other catalyst is really because the majority of schools in the US use the Tynker curriculum to teach kids to learn to code. And that's another way where kids get exposed to Tynker and coding. And then generally outside of school, they usually come to Tynker to sort of find, is there more that we can do beyond what we learn at school?
Right. Yeah, that's really cool. I know when my 14-year-old son plays Minecraft, he's often playing in a team. And obviously in real life coding and creation, a lot of the best code is produced through either pair coding or some collaboration in teams. So does Tynker help prepare kids to work in those teams when they're doing creative or coding?
Yeah, and I think you touched on a really good point there, Kevin. What I will say is kind of the success behind Tynker. It's not, as good as the product is, and it makes it really easy for kids to learn to code. But the thing that really keeps kids excited and engaged is really the community. And we've built this huge community with millions of kids that are learning to code and doing these different projects across Tynker. And a lot of it sort of fosters a lot of collaboration and teamwork. And so what happens for the most part is kids get started on different projects, and then, they kind of reach out to other kids within our community for feedback on terms of how to solve these different problems. And so it fosters a lot of that community and ultimately leads to creating a social network where a lot of these kids are kind of encouraging and learning from each other. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. I guess that puts positive peer pressure to use, right, as opposed to negative peer pressure. One area I know, my coders, wearing all my different hats. I've got coders working in, PHP and Python and Golang and JavaScript, and for all of them, their levels of efficiency have gone way up through using AI on top of their own, learned skills. So I'm curious where you see that changing potentially how Tynker works. Will Tynker be, providing additional tool sets that potentially augment the person's knowledge or get them from A to B faster with AI?
Yeah, and one of the things that we've been trying to do is continue to sort of expand and grow our curriculum based on what's actually happening in real life to ensure that kids are kind of staying on top of sort of not only best practices in terms of what's relevant now, but learning the potential skills that will enable them to sort of be valuable with whatever the future of work is going to be. And so, we've been providing this course around AI and machine learning, which provides a lot of those skills on what's going on. But one of our new features that we've just announced actually about a week ago, it's around introducing a co-pilot. So now kids will be able to work with a co-pilot, which for the most part is how AI works right now, because AI isn't really there to do all of the work. It's really there to really augment and empower teams. And so we're creating this co-pilot that really enables kids to really work with a co-pilot, and the co-pilot can help them to engage and learn coding faster and to verify the types of codes they're doing and help them problem solve. Because I think for the most part, a lot of AI, when it comes to coding, it's really there to kind of help you to iterate faster, and that's what our co-pilot will be doing with kids.
Yeah, sure. That's exactly what it ends up doing with my teams. Is you sort of have to be a pretty good coder, but if you're a pretty good coder, it just makes you reach from point A to point B more quickly and with less errors. So it's pretty cool. So I'm curious, obviously, one of your big roles in day-to-day is marketing and growth for the company. And so you have both direct to the kids or direct to the parents, but you've also got the educational institutions, which are essentially a channel for you. So do the educational institutions have sort of an outsized role in, your distribution strategy?
So I think we definitely have a two-pronged strategy. One is a B2B and another one is a B2C. With schools, primarily, I would say that, Tynker's been around for over 10 years, so we have really good awareness and a pretty large footprint on the school side. And generally, what happens there is, for the most part, coding and STEM has continued to gain popularity, and Tynker being one of the early sort of platforms that's really sort of ingrained to make it easy for teachers to teach that. Then a lot of the teachers have been able to learn about that either through different like trade shows and conferences where we're pretty visible, or through we have a direct sales team that really builds a lot of these relationships. But the biggest way that they really learn about it really comes back to the whole community aspect, because we have tens and thousands of teachers that really have been using Tynker. So they generally, teachers sort of reach out to other teachers to really learn about things. And so, word of mouth is, I would say, has been a big way for other teachers to discover Tynker. And then the other thing that we find is generally, I mean, if and when teachers do sort of move from one school district to another school district, they generally end up becoming champions for Tynker. And so they sort of bring Tynker into the new school districts that they go to. So that's another way that we sort of end up getting a lot of new schools and growing that channel. On the consumer side, we primarily outside of schools, because as I mentioned earlier in the show, a lot of kids discover Tynker through schools and then end up sort of coming to Tynker directly. SEO and is a huge channel for us. So we've been really dialed in on how to just get better visibility around the keywords that really end up driving the right types of users. And for the most part, it's all around keywords around coding for kids, learning to code, all of those, as well as Minecraft. As I mentioned, Minecraft for the most part, it's a great feeder into discoverability on the consumer side, because there's over 200 million users that use Minecraft. And so, if you go and search for things like Minecraft modding, how to code in Minecraft, Tynker for the most part is going to show up in the top two or top three positions. And so that naturally just drives a lot of awareness. And then the other channel where we do a lot of like discoverability is where kids are really spending a lot of time, which is YouTube. And so in our community, as kids create all these different projects, they end up sharing a lot of these projects on YouTube. And then we just try to help aid a lot of that discoverability. And so that drives a lot of awareness. And the other thing that we've done on the SEO side is just kind of create this templated user-generated content flywheel where as kids are creating all these different projects, it just creates unique content that ends up sort of being generated through templates for us, which ends up aiding more and more discoverability. So I would say outside of SEO, we also do, at least on Tynker, in terms of paid marketing, it's primarily around Google keywords and on Facebook, primarily. Facebook's to really sort of target a lot of the parent community that we sort of try to go after.
Right. So I'm curious because obviously when pitching organizations and for some of our clients who are selling into schools or selling into universities, having that internal champion is key. And you talked about how sometimes that internal champion is a teacher who moved school districts or a teacher who discovered it themselves and then became your internal champion. So how do you and your biz dev or sales team then approach that larger organization, right? Do you deploy within a small number of classes with your champion sort of leading the march? Or do you essentially try to close the entire district at once and deploy to 50 teachers at once or 500 teachers at once?
Yeah, I would say the dream scenario would be to close the entire district, but the reality is, it doesn't generally work that way. And so it's all about sort of building trust, and trust usually starts with one or two schools within that district that are using the product. And it could be either where, because we do give away grants to schools to try the product for free. And so generally a lot of teachers kind of come in for the most part because they don't really know what the district's budget is. And so we give them a grant where they can get started with the product. And it ends up becoming like a good case study for us, right? Because we're able to track a lot of the progress and how the kids are learning and growing in the program. And then it makes the lack of a better word, the business case a lot stronger for the teacher to kind of go up to the district and say, hey, look, we've started using Tynker, and the kids have not only been able to learn the code, but we've seen improvements in all these other areas related to STEM. And based on just sharing a lot of that data back with the teachers, it really empowers them to become that champion for us. But so another way to look at it is there's also kind of the FOMO thing, the fear of missing out. So if there's certain schools that are pretty close by where one district is doing it, there's the parents from other districts generally get to know about it because kids are always talking, and that provides more pressure on other districts that are in close proximity to try and adopt and get Tynker as well.
Right. Well, I'm certainly a huge fan of SEO, having started in SEO in 1994, right before I even did it, before Google was even founded. So, SEO are the hand raisers, right, who are basically saying, hey, I have an interest in this very specific thing. And if your content fulfills that promise and, gets them educated, that's really great. And obviously paid search dovetails into that, because if for whatever reason you don't rank organically, you can selectively tune your keywords. And you mentioned that Meta and social potentially play a role in your marketing. Are there any other marketing channels that have you excited, or that you're experimenting with, or you think show promise?
Being an education company, I've worked at a number of different startups where you have different budgets and you can do a lot more. I would say, from that standpoint, our hands are a little bit more tied. So that's why we sort of dial more into kind of the organic and viral and word of mouth. Mm-hmm. But all of those generally work well. I think the key thing that we do beyond that is really invest a lot into product-led growth, which is all around the user experience. So trying to figure out like how much friction can we continue to remove from the sign-up process, from the onboarding experience, from the first 7-day user experience, not only for students but also for teachers, to really get them to see that wow experience as quickly as possible. And the more we focus on improving the user experience, the more it actually leads and correlates to the product growing, because it leads to more virality and word of mouth. Right.
So I certainly know that within the Minecraft ecosystem, based on looking over my son's shoulder, that there are a tremendous number of YouTube influencers who are Minecraft players, or they stream on Twitch or wherever their chosen location. Sometimes it's all of the above. It's Twitch and YouTube, etc. And so I would imagine that those who are not just players, but who also are creators, could potentially play an influencer role for yourselves, especially if they originally learned to code and create, using Tynker. So do you guys have a separate influencer marketing strategy that sort of tries to bring those folks into the fold and have them either organically brag about how Tynker got them where they are, or other stories like that?
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point. So the way we sort of approach influencers is it's less about sort of just being focused on paid, but it's more about creating kind of a hybrid relationship where right. We want to really try the product and really ensure that they are excited about it, and then co-create different ways that they can help us to educate their followers. So we do that, and that's something that we definitely want to sort of build on and grow. And another thing that we do too that I didn't mention, it's around strategic partnerships. So we work with a lot of these big brands, whether it's like Microsoft or Google or Apple, which have education arms, and a lot of them are really into like helping kids to learn the code. So we do a lot of like partnerships and strategic initiatives with those types of organizations. And another one that we've just recently done a partnership with is the Spelling Bee, where we are actually the official coding partner for the Spelling Bee. And so, that's another way where we try to dovetail off other larger brands and try to work with them on trying to find ways where we can sort of get our product and content more tailored towards other ways that they can help distribute it for us as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I hadn't really thought about it before, but a lot of these folks who are creators on Minecraft and end up taking advantage of the fact that they're essentially selling virtual goods, right, or virtual experiences, can actually earn a living off of it, and that there are some servers that are extremely popular. So has anyone ever done an analysis of how much the secondary ecosystem around Minecraft is worth, and the extent to which maybe Tynker has helped people get there?
That's a really good question. I don't know the actual number for sure, but just based on the fact that we have millions of users that are primarily feeding into that ecosystem, I'm sure it's pretty lucrative. In fact, you've given me a really good idea. I'm going to have to try, because I think that will be a great, because of all the companies, we definitely want to be doing a partnership with Minecraft, which has always been kind of the challenging one. And I think, coming back with some research like that would definitely make it more interesting to reach out.
Yeah. I know that there's, I've had to go into different stores like Hypixel and others for my son and buy him essentially digital swag that he can then attach to his character. So clearly there's a lucrative ecosystem there. I haven't gotten my son to creator mode yet. He's actually pretty good from a gaming perspective, but he doesn't really take the time to go beyond into the heavy mods. But it's got to be a pretty large size secondary ecosystem there within those virtual worlds.
Yeah, I was going to say, if your son's interested, I can definitely send you one of the Tynker codes. That will definitely get him excited to try. It makes it a lot easier because you kind of get the co-pilot approach to doing it.
Sure, yeah. I'll try to get him to do it. I think it'd be fun, and maybe something he and I can do together.
Yeah.
So yeah, I look forward to seeing how your platform continues to evolve. I think it's one of those rare ventures that has a social good and social impact element to it. And I love the fact that one of your marketing strategies is essentially a grant that allows the teachers to sort of deploy in their educational institutions, right, to sort of see the value for themselves.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the big vision and the mission for the co-founders is to really sort of help every kid to learn to code before they or at least be exposed to learn to code before they graduate from high school. And so that's something that we're definitely not going to be able to do on our own. And I feel through the program that we have and the partnership and support from a lot of the schools, the teachers, and the education, as well as these different strategic partnerships that we do, it's it kind of enables us to get closer to that ultimate goal.
Right. Are there sort of different strategies that you have in place as you roll this out internationally? Because obviously the way educational institutions are structured in the United States is quite different from the way they might be structured in Europe or Canada or South America.
Yeah, I would say it's a little bit more challenging to do it internationally. But some of the ways that we've been able to do it primarily is kind of come down, like with private schools is a lot easier because but with public schools we do have presence like in the United Kingdom, in Canada, in Australia, and some other countries, but our content isn't localized right now, so it's all in English. And a lot of times it's really because a lot of these conferences that happen around education, there's a lot of teachers that actually come from those other countries to the US for some of these big national conferences. And that's how they end up discovering Tynker and end up sort of becoming a champion to bring it into their districts.
Great. Well, thanks so much for joining me and sharing what you're doing and translating the founder's vision into your marketing plan so that we can see how that's coming together. I look forward to watching the platform evolve.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. It was a pleasure.
Kevin Lee's Power Marketing is available on all your favorite podcast networks. Kevin loves helping businesses excel at marketing. Having marketing challenges? Just like Santa in The Miracle on 34th Street, if Kevin can't help you, he'll know someone who can. Find him on LinkedIn, subscribe, or follow.